Welcome to our second annual Committee on Applicants. Welcome to our second annual Committee on Applicants Information and Training webinar. I am Candace Church. I've worked with the Committees on Applicants for a number of years, and I will be presenting the webinar today. Today, I hope to provide you with information that will be useful to you and your committee. I'll start with a brief review of the purpose and responsibilities of the Committees on Applicants. I'll discuss where we stand with the revisions we made to procedures this past year, including some feedback from the Committee on Applicants survey. We'll review the 2019 fellowship timeline. Then we'll discuss conducting the interviews with the applicants and the steps that come after the interviews. You should be able to type in questions at any time during the presentation. At the end of the presentation, we will answer all the questions that are typed in. The Committees on Applicants have a very limited, very focused, and very important purpose: to investigate, interview, and evaluate the applicants for fellowship. The committees provide the college with a report on each applicant interviewed, which includes a recommendation as to whether or not each applicant is eligible for fellowship. The committees meet only once each year to conduct the interviews in their local area. Interviewing applicants in the local area is one of the things which makes the college unique. We also feel that the interview meetings are a good opportunity for networking. The chairs of the committee are responsible for arranging the interview meeting, notifying the college of the date of the interviews, notifying the committee members of the date, time, and location of the interviews, notifying each applicant of the date, time, and location of their individual interview, and reviewing the applicant's biographical summary and surgical list, although a lot of chairs have committee members do this. The chairs can also contact references if they'd like to do so, and they're responsible for conducting the interviews of the applicants and completing and returning to the college a report form for each applicant. The committee members are responsible for assisting the chair with interviewing the applicants, participating in the interview process, and helping the committee determine recommendations for the report form. We implemented a number of changes to the committees last year. One major change was that we began instituting term limits for committee members. We are continuing the process of instituting term limits by removing from committees all members who have served for more than 10 years. New members are being appointed for a 3-year term with no more than 2 reappointments. Another change was that we made boundary changes for some districts. This year, we reviewed those changes. Most of our boundary changes worked out well. A few required modification or additional changes this year, and we will continue to monitor the boundary changes throughout the next year, and if necessary, we will make additional changes. Earlier this year, we sent a survey to the committee chairs, including some of you, seeking to discover how well all of the aspects of the interview process are working. Almost 70% of the chairs responded to the survey. I'd like to share some of the results with you. We asked how easy it was to access and use the materials we sent. 87% of the respondents said it was easy or very easy to access the material. We did have a few respondents who had difficulty with the materials, mainly due to technical issues. These issues should be corrected for this year. Because of the changes we made to the geographic boundaries of some of the committees, we asked how comfortable you were with the number of applicants your committee was required to interview and with the geographic area covered by your committee. 93% of the respondents were comfortable with the number of applicants, and over 98% were satisfied with the geographic area. Overall, 95% of the respondents were satisfied or very satisfied with the interview process. We did receive some specific suggestions for further improvements, and we are exploring possible further refinements to the process. While we were glad to see that 95% of the chairs were satisfied with the process, we would like it to be even better, and we will continue to seek improvement. Next, I'll go over the timeline for applications. December 1st, 2018 is the deadline for receipt of applications for fellowship in 2019. As the applications are received, our credentials analysts process them, make sure that everything is complete, request further information if necessary, and send reference requests to the applicant's referee. January 15th is the date that we ask the chairs to provide the meeting date to us. In early January, we will send you an email requesting the date of your committee's interview meeting. The email will give you an estimate of the number of applicants interviewed by your committee. When we receive the interview date, we will put it on the applicant's dashboard so that if they sign in to their ACS profile, they will see the date. Our goal with this is to provide applicants with earlier notification of their meeting date so that they can arrange their schedules appropriately, and it is hoped be less likely to miss their interviews. Please be aware that the only thing we put on the applicant's dashboard is the date of the meeting. You will still be responsible for notifying each applicant of its place and specific time of their interviews. From January through March, we send the chairs information materials necessary to arrange and conduct their interviews. I'll talk more about that in a minute. We receive a huge number of applications during the week right before the deadline, and it does take a while to get everything processed, but we do work to get the information to you as fast as possible. From March through May, the committees conduct their interviews. May 15th is the deadline for us to receive the reports from your committee. After you've conducted your interview and the reports have been received, in May and early June, the names of the applicants recommended by the committees are submitted to the board of their regents for their approval. Applicant names are sent to the regents in groups. As we get enough reports from committees to warrant sending a group of names to the regents, we do so. As soon as the applicants are approved by the regents, they are notified of their acceptance and they become initiates. This means that some applicants may receive their notifications early as mid-May. July 31st is the deadline for notifying all applicants. This may seem early, but we need to complete notifications as early as possible so that the applicants have time to prepare for Clinical Congress. The last step in the process is Clinical Congress in October, when, at the convocation, all the initiates become fellows. Before we go on to discussing conducting the interviews, I'd like to share some data with you. The number of applicants for fellowship that we receive each year is continuing to grow. This year, we had a total of 2,038 applications for fellowship. 1,392 of those were from the United States and Canada. Of the 1,392 U.S. and Canadian applicants, 1,359 were accepted into fellowship this year. That's a 9% increase over 2017. We don't have final numbers for 2019 applications yet, but so far it appears that that number will be larger than 2018. As you know, not all applicants become initiates. Generally, about 3% of applicants are postponed to another year or have applications that are incomplete or they are not yet eligible. The numbers on your screen for the U.S. and Canadian initiates. The total number of accepted applicants continues to grow for both domestic and international applications. In 2016, we had a total of 1,823 applicants became fellows. In 2017, it was 1,827. And this year, 2018, we had a record number become fellows of 1,972. That was 1,359 domestic and 671 international. As the number of applicants grows, the process of getting them all interviewed also grows. As our credentials analysts complete the processing of each committee's applicants, information will be sent to the chairs of the committees. This is sent out from late January through March. Each chair will receive an email which includes an Excel spreadsheet and a PDF document. The information provided to the chair will include a list of the names and contact information for the applicants who are to be interviewed, a biographical summary for each applicant, a PDF document with a link to each applicant's surgical list, interview guidelines, and the report form. We'll also include contact information for your committee members. In addition, each member of your committee will be sent the biographical summaries of the applicants and their surgical list. We will provide a biographical summary for each applicant. This summary is created using the information provided by the applicant on their application. The summary includes information about the applicant's certification, surgical practice, medical training, current and past hospital appointments, professional activities, publications, and other pertinent information. Hang on a second. Sorry, my mouse is not behaving properly. I'm sorry, my mouse is refusing to cooperate. Here it is. All right, there we go. Okay. The names of references and their contact information are listed on the biographical summary. We require that the applicant provide the name of 5 references. These references must be fellows of the college. 2 of them should practice in the applicant's specialty. At least 3 should practice in the same geographic location as the applicant. They must not be family members, and they should be aware of the applicant's current practice. ACS staff will ensure that the references listed meet this criteria, and we will send a reference request to each referee. However, due to confidentiality rules, the ACS cannot provide the information received from the references to the committee. It is safe to assume that the references listed on the biographical forms have been contacted by the college and returned the reference form. We encourage you to contact the references if you need more information or verification. If after we receive responses from references, we feel that you should contact a specific reference, we will notify you of that reference's name. All applicants are required to provide a surgical list to the Chicago office. The ACS will provide the chair of the committee and the committee members a PDF document which includes a link to each applicant's surgical list. To access the list, excuse me, you click on the link. You'll be required to log in the first time you click on the link, but then you should be able to access all of the lists on your page. The requirements for the surgical list are that it must cover a recent 12-month period, that is within the last 2 years. It must not contain confidential patient information. It has to be HIPAA compliant. It should contain a description of the procedure, not a list of codes only, and the number performed for each procedure. It may be on forms supplied by the college or forms generated by the applicant, or it may be a board list. Board lists are acceptable as long as they meet the above criteria. That is, within the last 2 years, HIPAA compliant, and contain a description of the procedure and the number performed. The college does not provide parameters for case volume. The committee should evaluate the case volume and variety based on community standards for that specialty and characteristics of the applicant's practice, whether it's solo, group, hospital-based, office-based, etc. There are 3 things that need to be done after you receive the information from us. Prepare for the interview, conduct the interviews, and submit the reports. To prepare for the interviews, you will need to notify the committee members of the date, time, and location of the meeting. As mentioned, we are sending the committee members the applicant's biographical summaries and links to surgical lists, but you still need to notify them of the details of the meeting. You will also need to notify each applicant of the date, time, and location of their interview. Even though we are putting the dates of the interviews in the applicant's profile, we don't provide them with the details. You will need to provide those details, the location and specific time of the interview. Next, the applicant's interview information needs to be reviewed either by you or a member of your committee. These are the interview guidelines. The American College of Surgeons requires that all applicants for fellowship be interviewed. An in-person interview is preferred, but telephone or Skype interviews are acceptable. The applicant should be interviewed by at least 2 committee members. The length of each interview is determined by the committee and is usually based on the individual applicant and their practice. Typically, interviews last about 15 to 20 minutes each. If a committee member has a conflict of interest with an applicant or is related to an applicant, that committee member should recuse themselves from the interview for that applicant. If an applicant is unable to attend their scheduled interview, we do request that if all possible, you interview that applicant separately. You do not have to arrange for your entire committee to meet again to accommodate these applicants. They can be interviewed by as few as 2 committee members. Also, keep in mind that interviews via Skype or telephone are acceptable. We provide a report form which you will need to fill out and submit for each applicant. It's a fillable form. For the multiple choice questions, you click to select your response. For the comments section, you click in the field and type your response. Remember to include the applicant's name on the report form. And if the applicant's current address is different than the one provided on the biographical summary, please provide the new address. The form includes questions to help you evaluate the applicant, for example, questions about the applicant's surgical ability, judgment, and professional standing, so that you may determine your committee's recommendation as to whether or not the applicant is eligible for fellowship. The form is being updated this year, and we will provide the new form. This is a section that was just added to the form for this past year. These questions are designed to assess the applicant's quality improvement activities. They're not meant to be asked or answered verbatim, but are to generate conversation. Your overall assessment of the applicant's responses is indicated at the bottom of the section. The most important question on the form is this one. Does this committee consider this applicant eligible for fellowship? This is where you indicate your committee's recommendation as to the applicant's eligibility for fellowship. Be aware that the committee does not make the final decision. You make a recommendation. The final decision is made by the Board of Regents. If your committee responds yes, you consider the applicant eligible for fellowship, and if everything else is complete in the application, the applicant's name will be sent to the Board of Regents for their approval. If your committee's response is no, you do not consider the applicant eligible for fellowship, or if you refer the decision to the Board of Regents, you need to provide a detailed reason for that recommendation, including all the facts that were considered before making the decision. Please do not select no or refer to Regents without providing a written explanation. Each applicant that the committee does not recommend for fellowship or refers to the Regents is presented to the Applicant Review Committee of the ACS. The Applicant Review Committee will review the facts provided by the committee, as well as the applicant's surgical list, references, and other information, and based on this review, will make a recommendation to the Board of Regents. If there are discrepancies between the recommendation made by the Applicant Review Committee and your committee's recommendation, you will be notified before the applicant is notified. Last, the chair should sign the report, list the committee members who were present at the interview, and then, most importantly, submit the report to the ACS. One more important thing about the reports, we need to be able to read them. Some chairs print the forms out and fill them in by hand. It's okay to mark the check boxes by hand, but anything in the comments should be typed. If you handwrite anything in the comment section, then please also attach a separate page with the information typed. Reports should be returned to me via email. My email address is on the bottom of the report form. Please send a report for each applicant, even applicants who were not interviewed. If they were not interviewed, there is a place in the form to indicate that. The deadline for receiving these is May 15. If for some reason you cannot meet that deadline, contact me ahead of time to let me know and to let me know when we will be receiving your report. We ask that you let us know how the process is working for you. We need your feedback to make things better. You can send me an email at any time letting me know everything, good or bad, that you might have to say about our procedures. If everything worked perfectly, let us know. Or the changes you feel might be helpful to your committee, let us know. Each year, after the interviews have been completed and before we restructure the committees for the following year, we review everything you have to tell us. Our primary goal is to make the entire process work better and more smoothly for the committees and the applicants. Your input can help us achieve this goal. If you have questions at any time, you can contact us at the emails or telephone numbers above. My phone number and email is there. Karen Freeman is the manager of the section. She can help you, and there's a general telephone and email that can help you.